Thank you for joining my live session. I am live, my camera's on, everything is working just fine. So, I been a while since I've done this, and today's video, there's a lot of questions coming in about the freight rates, about the effects on the driver, effects on our trucking industry, what's happening with the freight rates, when is it going to be better? Are we going to, is it ever going to revive? So first of all, we're going to talk about what's happening with the freight rates. Then we're going to get into the effects on our driver pays. So I don't know if you guys noticed, but driver pay rates are slowly starting to come down, and it is affecting all drivers across the board. So I really want to get into that, what I'm seeing in the US, what I'm seeing in Canada, and then what needs to happen in our industry in order for things to go back up. So I've kind of pinpointed 4 or 5 different things that need to happen in our industry for things to go back up to normal, or at least, better than this. So let's get into it. Now, what's happening with freight rates? So I don't know about you guys, but there's a ton of layovers happening. How do I know this? Because my recruiting lines are blowing up. When I talk to drivers, I ask them what in the world is going on, and why are you, why are you looking for a new position? You've been at your position for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. What in the world is going on? A lot of them are telling me, listen, I just can't deal with the layovers. I just can't deal with the waiting times. There is too many delays in between loads. I do a delivery and then I'm waiting for 4, 5, 6 hours before I get dispatched on a pickup. So, I'll give you the story around it, what's happening with the freight rates, and then we're going to go into the effects on the driver's pay. But for those of you that are here, this is really a chance for a lot of you guys to ask questions to whatever's on your mind when it comes to the freight rates, when it comes to driver's pays. I'd be more than happy to answer any one of your questions. So whether it doesn't matter what platform you're on, you guys are going to get the my honest opinion of what I see that's happening in the trucking space. So we'll talk about layovers. Layovers is definitely happening, whether you're on the West Coast, in the South, Georgia, Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia. I mean, the layovers are happening. And it's really starting to irritate drivers, rightfully so, because the last thing you want is to arrive at a delivery. You do your delivery, and then there is no pickup until the following day. And this is starting to happen more and more. Waiting times. So you do your delivery, then all of a sudden you do a delivery at 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock at lunchtime, and then you are waiting to get picked up. A lot of the times the pickup is later on in the day, or you could be doing a delivery at 8 o'clock in the morning and you're not getting dispatched until 3, 4, or 5 p.m. So that is really starting to take a toll on the drivers. The delay between loads, definitely. I mean, here, usually in terminals or your home base should not have delay between loads. It usually happens on the outbound before you're coming inbound, and it's much harder when you are working with cross-border trade. So I'm going to get into that in just a little bit when it comes to cross-border trade. But again, if you guys have any questions out there about what's happening, I'll try to answer the questions as best as I can. So what happens when there are delay between loads? What happens when there's layovers? What happens when you're not getting dispatched, you're outbound, and then right away you're inbound? So the mileage goals are not being met, and they're not being met not by the driver, and they're not being met by the company also. So a lot of these trucks, instead of producing 11,000 miles, or these drivers, instead of producing 11,000 miles, they are producing 9,500, 10,000 miles. And the drivers are getting irritated because one layover can destroy your entire week. And I give you an example of that. So let's say here in Concord, Ontario, we're in Canada, a driver goes to Atlanta, Georgia, usually does a delivery, then does the pickup, and then back out to Toronto. He's here on Wednesday, and then he does one more trip going to Illinois or Wisconsin, leaving him with about 3,000 miles. Now, if the driver does not have a reload on the day that he is in Atlanta or in Georgia or in Florida, wherever he is, then he's missing a trip. So what do I mean by that? So if Sunday departure, they arrive to Atlanta, Georgia, let's say Tuesday first thing in the morning, Tuesday in the morning, they're supposed to have a reload coming back into Canada. Well, if that driver is not getting that reload until Wednesday, that means he's missing his second trip. He won't have enough time to go to Illinois or Wisconsin on the second trip. So it completely destroys his entire week. And that's what's happening a lot right now, especially with the cross-border trade. Tariffs, the tariffs, I don't know about you guys, but for us at least, ever since after Q1, which is April, May, and June, and even July, I mean, they were horrific. The numbers came back, they were brutal. Mileages, are down. Rate per mile is down significantly. People are fighting over loads. There's a bidding war literally for every single load out there. I've done a lot of these videos where I just post in anywhere in the US coming into Canada, and the phones just start blowing up and people are willing to run at a loss. So what kind of effect does this have on drivers' pay? So before I get into the effect on drivers' pay, I do just want to say that there are a ton of drivers that are leaving our industry because of the drivers' pay. We did put out there a really cool personality quiz. If you're thinking of, what should I do next in life, or where my personality fits best, I'm going to link down below I'm going to link a website called truckingacademy.us. Actually, you know what? Why don't I just share it with you guys right now? So again, before I get into the tests, and then we will do resources. Where do I find this quiz? /pages/quiz. Pages/quiz. All right. So for those of you that are, that are thinking, or maybe one day, maybe leaving the industry, or thinking, what in the world should I do next? Let me just share something with you right now. Share screen. All right, so truckingacademy.us, I've built together a really, really quick quiz. It'll take you literally probably 4 or 5 minutes. It talks to you about your personality, and then this will kind of give you a guide onto, it will steer you in the right direction. Are you more inclined to be a safety manager, a road tester, a driver recruiter, or even a freight broker, or even a dispatcher? So it asks you, lots of personality questions about your personality, and then it'll guide you in the right way of what should you become if you're thinking of maybe leaving this industry in the trucking truck. If you're leaving and you don't want to no longer become a truck driver, what should you do next? This quiz is free, 100% free. You guys should definitely take it and see where your personality lies. I took the quiz actually, and the outcome was pretty. It said that I should be a freight broker. But now let's get into the effects of the driver's pay. So with all this that's happening out there in our industry, what is the effect on driver pays that I'm seeing? So here in Canada, I see that the driver's pay is starting to come down. Okay, so before we saw it at 65 cents per mile, then it went down to about 60 cents per mile. Now the drivers that I'm talking about here, the trucking companies that I'm talking to here in Concord, Ontario, I see that they are paying 55 cents per mile is the going rate here in Canada. Now in the US, also I see that the driver pay rates are starting to come down. So 70 cents per mile was the norm, then it went down to 65, then it's going down to 60 is what I see in the US for rates. So does anybody have a comment on this? Maybe we can take some comments before I go into the next section on why are rates going down and what needs to happen in our industry in order for rates to go back up. So before I get into that topic, does anybody have any questions, concerns, comments that they'd like to share? I just got a question: by September, there's going to be a strike with truckers. I just got a question: by September, there's going to be a strike with, okay. Brokers always try to avoid paying layovers, truck order not use, and detention. I agree with you 1,000%. It's getting worse and worse in the US. Freight brokers are trying to steer away from paying truck order not used. And it's really bad. Something needs to happen. Hello, everyone, especially to you, Ronen. Thank you very much. Does that mean that you're going to go on strike with my question, the whole market dating? No, I don't think we're going to be going on strike. Welder, I'm done trucking. Okay, so we got a welder that's done trucking. I don't blame you, my friend. I've seen your trailers in Newfoundland. Yes, they are in Newfoundland. Hey, what's up? How are you doing? Guys, any questions, concerns about the freight rates and what's happening right now in the market? Found night shift trucking job, going to welder school in 12 days. Okay. Do you work with cargo vans? All right. So there's no more questions here. I don't see any questions or comments. Again, this session is all about our industry. Let's see if we got any questions over here. Why is the market so bad if a lot of people have left the business and fraudulent people have left? There's First of all, I just want to make a comment. There's still a ton of fraud that's happening in our industry. And why is the market so bad? Well, the market is so bad because of the interest rates are really, really high. The tariff war has decimated our industry. I mean, whether it's Canada and the U.S., the whole back and forth over there, or other countries, it's definitely affecting the cross-border trade, and it's definitely affecting the U.S. market. Why are driver rates going down? So driver rates are going down because the influx of new drivers into our industry, right? So there's a lot of drivers that want to come into our industry. It's not Whenever there's a downfall in the economy, a lot of people look towards trucking because it's a safe bet. You know that you're going to make $5, $6, $7,000 every single month while being a truck driver. So a lot of other industries, when they're not doing too well, a lot of people are like, okay, you know what? It's my backup plan. I'm just going to become a truck driver. Or at some point past, they were truck drivers and then they left trucking and now they're coming back into trucking. I see a lot of that also. So the influx of new drivers is definitely, a thing. It's very, very easy to become a truck driver. I hate the fact that it's so easy to become a truck driver. I feel like any other industry, like welding or like, plumbing, over the last 20 years has become harder and harder and harder to become an electrician or a plumber or a welder. But in our industry, it keeps getting easier and easier and easier to become a truck driver, and it drives me nuts. Okay. Let's see if there's any other questions over here. How do we tighten up being able to start a trucking company regulation and system again? So for those of you that are thinking to have your own trucking company, again, there are some resources on truckingacademy.us. There's courses there that you can take about opening up your own trucking company. There's a dispatch course. There's a freight broker course there that you could take. But definitely rules and regulations need to tighten up. I think that bonds should be probably set to a little bit higher. I think that facial recognition and, passports, and a much better job on authenticating the person who's actually opening up the trucking company or, a freight brokerage company. Like I said, it's just way too easy to get a Class 1 license. And finally, we're starting to see some stuff on the news. Unfortunately, the immigration and visas for truck drivers in Canada, right now, you're not getting an approval for it. And in the US, right now, with what's happening with the stories of the truck driver that has taken 3 lives with the illegal U-turn on the Florida Turnpike, that is definitely starting to surface a lot of the problems in the US is starting to bring it to life. People are starting to understand that there's a lot of gaps in our industry. People are starting to understand, that how in the world can somebody get licensed and not be qualified to drive a truck? How can you get licensed if you can't speak English? These are all things that were concerns, but unfortunately, it just had to take this accident for things to really resurface out there. So let's take some more comments before we go into the last part of what do we need to do in order for the freight rates to go up, in order for the industry to start shooting up. Let's take some of these comments over here that have come in. Let's see. I bought the freight broker course. Is there resources like templates? There should be some resources and templates. The freight broker course that you have purchased is on truckingacademy.us. We'll link it down below for those of you that are interested on becoming freight brokers and to open up your own brokerage firm. You're more than welcome to click the link and have those resources. When do you think it will get better? So I'm going to leave that question to last. When do I think it's going to get better? Because it's the last part of this live, and what needs to happen for things to get better. Tariffs and manufacturing have moved. So yes, the tariffs have moved. Manufacturing has moved. Everything that the administration is trying to do is to bring things back. Are they successful at it? I don't know. I do know that there's an influx of people, leaving Canada, going into the U.S. Is it really starting to bring back manufacturing? I don't know. The numbers will only show in about a year or 2 years. There's nothing that's going to be concrete right now, but there's definitely things that we need to do in order for things to go back up. So number one, we have to have the interest rates going down. That's number one. The economy both in Canada and in the US is not doing too well at all. Even though the inflation thing might be under control, people are not spending. Nobody has extra money for anything anymore. Everybody's busy with their mortgages, with their rents, with their car payments, with their insurance payments. There's just not enough to go out and spend, the way that we used to. Things are more expensive today than they were 2-3 years ago, and that needs to, an injection needs to happen. Interest rates do need to come down, so people can start spending again. The second thing that needs to happen is the cost of fuel needs to come down. So I know that the Trump administration promised drill baby drill and that the fuel prices are going to come down. Haven't seen it yet, but I'm very, very hopeful that it's going to happen. The next thing we need to do is we need to increase the US and Canada production and manufacturing. So I know we're trying to do everything that we can to bring manufacturing back to Canada, back into the US. Is this going to happen? I don't know. I'm very hopeful that it will happen, but that's something that needs to happen. Production needs to come back to Canada and to the US. And we definitely need to tighten up on our immigration. I'm a strong believer that our immigration does need to tighten up. The quality of people, the amount of people that are coming in, both in Canada and the U.S. Definitely in Canada they have stopped the labor market. The LMIAs, there is no more LMIAs in Canada for trucking. In the US, I don't think you'll be able to get a visa as a truck driver right now. I think that our industry really needs to recover before we can open the borders to anybody else. And I feel like broker transparency is going to do very, very well for us in the trucking space. Let's see if there are any comments about that. So if you have any comments on broker transparency, on the increase, the decrease in the cost for fuel or in the decrease in interest rates, please, guys, leave the comments down below. I'd really love to, if you have any questions or comments, I'd love to share it with you guys. How do we tighten up being able to start a trucking company? That we already read. When the trucking companies learn to stick together against low. Okay, so I think that the comment here is low rates and brokers. So definitely I agree with this. One of the biggest downfalls in our industry is that we in the trucking industry are not sticking together. We should be sticking together. We should be uniting. We should be all coming together, and whether it's against freight brokers or against taking cheap freight or against some of the laws that are coming out or have come out. I feel like our industry really, really needs to come together and somehow unite in a digital form, because there's a lot of crap that's happening in our industry, and a lot of freight brokers are getting away with some nasty things out there. Let's see. Do you have any steady runs available? Okay. How many years have you been in business? So ET Transport has been in business since 2026. So we're going to be celebrating 20 years. Again, I started in my early 20s. If there are anybody out there that is thinking of getting into trucking, if you're a truck driver and you want to get your learners, you want to get your your general knowledge test, you are more than welcome to go on truckingacademy.us. I built a free product quizzes for you in order for you to get your CDL. So it's a general knowledge test. It's absolutely free. I'll link it down below. If anybody out there wants to get their Class 1 license, you need help, feel free to use this free tool. It's definitely going to help you out. So don't ever let anybody tell you that you are too young. I started in this space when I was 21 years old. I had a trucking company already. And if this is something that you want to do, if this is something that you're thinking of getting into, you're more than welcome to open up your own trucking company. We do have courses on how to open up a trucking company. We do have courses on how to become a freight broker. Again, your age does not matter. You can do it. I am live proof that I've done it. And if I can do it, I promise you, you can do it also. So no, I'm not working on cargo vans. Next comment. Bernard send us the do you pay extra LTL shipments or just pickups and drops? Do you pay extra? So our company here does pay. I mean, this is not a recruiting live session for recruiting. So I would, if you have any questions on recruiting, you're more than welcome to email them in. Okay. How do I get hold of you to discuss putting a truck or two on in the US? I sent an email but didn't hear back. So for those of you that are sending in emails, if you can send an email to sponsorship@ettransport.ca for Canada. Okay, once I get the email, I will try to respond. So if you want to put some trucks with ET Transport, we can definitely do so. Next, we need competent drivers on our roads as opposed to new immigrants who have had no experience with our climate and regular vehicle. Okay, so I want you to know that immigration does not equal to incompetent drivers. Okay, we can't keep blaming the immigration for all of the problems that we have in the US and in Canada. I'm going to take Canada as an example. The immigration that's coming over here, it's not their fault that it's so easy to get a class 1 license. It's not their fault that, somebody is passing them when they shouldn't be passing. It's not their fault that nobody's doing an English test in order for them to get their class 1 license. So I get that, a lot of people are blaming immigration for a lot of the problems, but it's not immigration that's the problem. It's the systems that are in place that are the problem. And then you need to tighten up on those systems and stop blaming immigration. That's just my opinion. I mean, a lot of people have asked me what my opinion is also on the accident that happened in Florida. Again, it is a tragic accident, and the driver should have not obviously done the U-turn. And the way that he did it, when you see the clips of the accident and the fact that he had zero remorse of what happened, yes, I blame the driver, but I also blame the system. I mean, the story is unfolding more and more and more, and you see how a bad system, is the cause of what happened. Yes, the driver is to blame. Do I believe that he deserves life in prison? No, I do not believe that he deserves life in prison. But I do blame the system for what happened. Are you hiring new owner operators? Yes, we are hiring owner operators. For those of you that are interested, you're more than welcome to email recruiting@ettransport.ca and they can help you out. Is your academy for Canadians or American version? The academy for freight brokers and for the dispatch is both for Canadian and Americans. There is a module, on cross-border. The majority of it obviously is the US to US and booking loads and how to opening up a trucking company in the US or in Canada. So you're more than welcome to, if you're interested, take those courses. Are we great again yet? Not quite yet. There's a lot more that needs to be done. For a flatbed business, would you rather use truck stop or DAT for boards? Our company here, even in the flatbed division, we use the DAT. That's our go-to, load board. But again, it doesn't mean that truck stop is not a good load board. There might be some freight there, but we here at ET Transport use DAT. Let's see if there's any other comments. Do you pay extra? All right. Again, it's not a recruiting session. On balance, I think the rates were better when you started 20 years ago. um, I have to say it was definitely a lot more profitable 20 years ago than it is today. Can I join your company as a company driver? You'd have to go to recruiting@ettransport.ca. I believe right now there's about a 2 or 3 month waiting list to get in, but you're more than welcome to try that avenue. You are exactly right. Blame immigration. You got to blame the system. My father and my mother and me were all immigrants. We moved here in the late 90s. When I was not even 1 year old. But even my father said you got to learn the language, and the biggest problem is accent now. Is every person, I don't want to say what is written exactly, is going to be a target. Yes, so I'll tell you, I'll give you a crazy story that happened. Some of you might have seen this. One of our drivers, literally 3 days ago, did a U-turn on the interstate highway also. It was somebody basically posted it. It had over 150,000 views. Our safety department was having a a day from hell. They had a day with all the calls that came in about the driver. Now, the one thing that I have to say where we got lucky is that the driver that was driving it, and what they posted there is that he was white. And you see how big of a difference, if he was brown, or if he was Indian, or if he was an immigrant, he would have gotten destroyed. And it just shows you that, how much more people are, making the bigger deal of the fact that he was Indian, or, it plays a big role in people's outcome, and a lot of stuff are starting to float up. But our driver, I mean, obviously safety took him aside and they did what they had to do with him. And, it was brought to our attention and safety took care of it. But still, you can see a huge difference between, the video clips and the comments when the person is white versus when the person is an immigrant, or, Indians get a lot of crap in our industry. And it's just, it's really sad to see that. It's really sad to see that. Let's go into some more comments. Okay, what is your honest opinion? Is it still worth growing a fleet? Right now, I mean, it's a great comment. And what I feel like, maybe right now you don't want to grow the fleet so much. You kind of want to be, stale, or you want to just stay where you are. And if you can keep afloat, that's great. The time for buying trucks is going to come. And I truly believe that once this phase goes away, it's going to shoot up really, really fast. And freight rates, they're not going to climb from 220 to 230 to 235. It's not going to be like that. Once the industry picks up, it's going to shoot up like an arrow, and the freight rates are going to be $2.90, $3 a mile. That's my honest opinion. I feel like it's just taking a little bit longer. If both Canada and the U.S. declare the interest rate drop, it's going to be really, 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 really good for both economies. People are struggling in Canada, people are struggling in the U.S., and an interest rate drop would only do good for both economies. So that's my opinion. Now, Yankee Diaz, your dispatch course is 10 out of 10. I bought it. I really, really appreciate the positive feedback, and that I honestly invested 6 months of my life into that dispatch course. I really wanted to get a course out there that is going to be to the point. It's not going to charge you $700 or $800. I think right now it's like $235 or $245 the course. There are a lot of people taking that course, and it should be a clear indication of if you do want to get into this industry. If you don't want to get into this industry, you get a lifetime access to that course, and you get a ton of PDF documents, attached with that course, reference materials. It is a great course for anybody that's looking to get into this industry. Okay. So before we go into some more comments, guys, if you could just take a second, click that thumbs up button. I would really, really, really appreciate it. Let's see on this platform if there are any other questions. Dude, I am level 10 in America Truck Simulator and 2. I don't know what that means. Let's see, the entry-level pay for drivers thinking of a career change. So again, guys, if you are thinking of a career change, make sure that you take that quiz that I linked up earlier. It'll definitely guide you in your personality or where you fit best. All right, let's see if we can read a few more comments. Ronen, I think we both start in Europe on my side 30 years ago, since 2007 here on my 4 continent. And on all continent is the same problem with brokers and rates. We need ASAP a board where companies can rate brokers. I'm working on that, guys. I promise you I am working on it. For those of you dispatchers that are out there, there is a product called Load Connect. Okay, and this Load Connect product, I feel like is going to come up. There's currently about 14,000 dispatchers on it. It uses AI technology, to email brokers. It's interconnected with factoring companies where you can see a broker's score, and soon, very soon, hopefully, they're going to start using the reviews on brokers on it. So make sure you're on that, because you're right 100%. Something needs to happen with these freight brokers doing whatever they want. I already emailed. By the way, waving over from the shower at Flying J Britannia Road. And that's funny, Fred. Thank you. Most companies that run good equipment that pay decent rates do not hire bad drivers with no experience. You're 100% right about that. As I am a truck driver in Europe, are you hiring from outside of Canada? No, we're not. Any news if trucks in near future will not be equipped with deaf and emission equipment? I don't know about that, to tell you the truth. Would a traffic incident encourage you to move towards autonomous drivers? No, it would not. Autonomous drivers, I can only see autonomy happening inside interstate highways. I do not see it in cities. Grow a fleet right now as an owner operator. Say no better to get a bigger money on the side. Okay, I want the dispatch course. How can I buy it now? Guys, the dispatch course, I linked it in the products below. If you can just go to the link, I can definitely, if you don't see the link, okay, all you have to do is go into truckingacademy.us. Give me 1 second. I will show you how to do it. Share screen. All right. So if you go into truckingacademy.us, which is this website over here, if you go into resources, go to courses, and you'll see the courses that are available. So dispatch training course, I highly recommend you start reading the reviews on them. You have the freight broker course. You have anybody that needs a course on the cost of running a truck. Very, very important for you to know the break-even point, how much it costs today realistically to buy a truck. The accounts receivable course is just about to launch. It's going to be launched probably within the next 2 weeks. We just launched the Opening Up a Trucking Company course. For those of you that want to open up a trucking company, there is a course for that. There are a couple of courses that we're still working on, and that's the Mastering Load Booking course and the Recruiting Truck Driver course. So right now, Truck Dispatcher Training course gives you the overview, everything that you need in our industry. It's one of our most popular courses. Like I said, it took me 6 months to launch this course because I really wanted to give off the B-roll and for you guys to understand what is a logbook, what is, what is a scale, what is, the weight configuration, axle configuration. There's a lot of B-roll when we're explaining everything. Everything was done with really, really good B-roll to try to show the audience or the people that are taking the course, to try to show them, people are very pictorial these days. They need to see images. They need to understand it through pictures, or for us, we've taken one step further and done it through videos, okay? So any other questions, guys? If anybody has any questions, comments, concerns, this is the time to, we're going to start wrapping this up. All right, the biggest problem I saw is the influx of new companies during COVID era. You're right 100% about this. There was a ton of new MCs. Freight rates were through the roof, $4, $4.50, $5 per mile. People were throwing money as long as you can move the product. So a lot of those companies have died and closed down. The system in the U.S. failed when it issued the CDLs. I am a licensed CDL examiner in the state of Ohio, and I know what rules and regulations are for issuing ACDs. Someone somewhere screwed up or got their palm greased. I am no way against immigration, but I do believe that you should legitimately be able to speak the language and also read and understand the rights. Chad, I would love to interview you about the system, about how drivers get their license. I totally agree with you about the English. But again, I would love to interview you as an examiner to kind of get your feedback, maybe pick your brain a little bit on what works and what doesn't work. And if you were, making the decision, how would you change what's currently there? So Chad, if you are interested, please send me an email to recruiting or sponsorship at ettransport.ca. And I'd love to, have a one-on-one with you. Do companies with overseas offices contribute to keeping rates down? There's a lot of dispatch services out there that are dispatching from overseas. I see it also with people that are buying our course. There's a ton of people that are buying our course that are from overseas. Then they're getting jobs as dispatchers, or they're dispatching owner operators, or honestly, I see them also starting their dispatch service because I consult. For those of you that want to get a hold of me or that want a 15-minute session with me, again, truckingacademy.us, I'll show you where it is, but the consultations that are kind of coming in are not just from US and Canada, they're from all over the world. So if you are thinking or need some guidance or need some help on setting up your dispatch service, mentorship is where you can go. Again, consultations with me. I even put a 15-minute consultation here that if you want to just ask me a question or a quick question, there's 15 minutes, there's 30 minutes, there's 45 minutes, and there's also bundles of sessions with me. So for those of you that are interested, again, truckingacademy.us, and go to the mentorship sessions. All right. Do you think immigration checkpoints in the way stations will help rates out of Florida? Well, I mean, I do believe that these checkpoints are great. I wish they can check more things when they're pulling out the drivers. But yes, they need to start, making sure that people have the required English. I took the course. It was well done. Thank you so much for your comment, guys. I really appreciate the love and support on people that have taken the course. Currently, till date, there's about 550 people that have taken the course, and we've gotten some really, really good feedback about it. Do companies with and honestly, it's the best the best $200, $250 investment you'll ever make on yourself in this industry if you take that dispatch course. Let's see if there's any. What is your pay rates for drivers with? Okay, I'm not going to get into pay rates right now. This is not a recruiting session. Please contact me about the load. I may be able to do Toronto to Montreal. Okay, I don't know what you're talking about. Put Indian people get into the most accidents. That is not a true fact. Hey, sir, sorry to text here, but I am a salesperson and interested in somebody who. Okay. Any other comments, guys? So before we end off the session, I appreciate if you guys take a second. So we are about to wrap up. If you guys can take a few seconds, maybe put a thumbs up, I would appreciate it. I hope the algorithm push this video out a little bit more. I hope you guys understood what is happening with freight rates, the effects of the driver's pay, and why are rates going down for drivers. We went over. We went over what needs to happen in order for freight rates to go up. Again, broker transparency would be a really, really good thing for this industry. The decreased cost of fuel will be a great thing for us. And the decreased interest rates, both in Canada and in the US, will definitely shake things up. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the session. I'm seeing that there's no comments coming in. So thank you guys all for joining this live session. And hopefully I'll see you guys in my next video or my next session. Thank you guys for being a part of my channels. I really do appreciate it.